Kyle here with Crew Restoration and Construction. Most customers don't really understand what they're paying for in heating and cooling prices, how the things that are inside their home currently can affect their heating and cooling prices when it comes to gas and electric in the home. The very first place that we start, we actually call it the ABCs. It gives us direction on where we should go to look for efficiencies inside the home. So A is attic, B is basement or crawl space, and then C is everything in between those things. It's our conditioned space. So these are the areas in the home that we're paying to heat and cool in the winter and summer months. So let's start with the attic, because we feel that 80% of everything that can be done for efficiencies, as far as not being extremely obtrusive to tearing the entire house apart, can be done inside the attic. So the insulation that's in your attic, first of all, there are what's called codes. So code changes depending on what type of typical weather events and temperature events that you have in your area. Clearly it's cold in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, so our value that is required by code is the highest in the nation. Now, part of this also works with your ventilation in your attic. That's one of the things that we first look at. The ventilation in your attic, if you look at the underside of the overhang of the outside of your house, that's called your soffit. This piece has, what you can see typically has vents in it. If you have metal soffit, you'll see some of the sections are perforated or have slashes in them. That's to allow air to go in there on purpose. If you have wood soffits, they'll typically be holes or rectangles cut into the soffit with grates over top of them. That is also, it's just a different form to allow air into your attic. So air flows in and out through a circular pattern inside your attic. Now the reason for that is, if we didn't have air ventilation in your attic, it would be very stagnant air in there. It would stay in there forever. You would get mold almost immediately. So that's extremely important. That's something that we look at. We want the air to come in and out the top, okay? So the first thing we do when we go up into an attic is look at the condition of the insulation. What type of insulation is it? Now, 99% of the time, you're gonna have batt insulation. You're gonna have some sort of fiberglass. You're either gonna have batt insulation, which is also fiberglass, or you're gonna have a fiberglass blow-in insulation. Now, this is done the majority of the time in Sioux Falls. What our stance on insulation is that we only use a blown-in cellulose insulation. Now, the reason for that is just a difference in philosophy. A blown-in fiberglass insulation almost acts like a fluffy pillow in easy terms to think about. It uses the trapped air in between the gaps in the insulation that are done on purpose to create the insulation, or the R value, and R is just the resistance to heat that it can take. So it looks fluffier, and probably to the eye, it looks like it's a nicer product. It's not. What we use is a blown-in cellulose. What it does is makes blankets of insulation. It literally, once we put on RR60 in blown-in cellulose, first of all, because it's less fluffy, it's extremely dense. It's made to be dense on purpose. We don't need it to be as tall or as thick as what blown-in fiberglass insulation needs to be. It actually needs to be thinner because there's no air trap in there. Now, what this does, it doesn't allow any air to penetrate through there, or very, very little. Much less than what blown-in fiberglass insulation does. Now, The first thing that we do after we view what type of insulation you have and deem that we need to blow in cellulose insulation is we take out all the old insulation. We preach that insulating without sealing is malpractice. So our goal and our mission is to keep as much conditioned air in your conditioned space as we possibly can. So we go through seal everything. When I say everything, I'm talking about the top plates of your walls, any chimneys, any plumbing partitions, anything that could possibly make a hole that would allow air to go up into your attic. Every wall in your home is a potential for air filtration up into your attic, where we absolutely do not want it ever, right? We want to keep that conditioned air in your conditioned space at all times. That is our goal. That's what we do at Crew, because we are the crew that cares.